Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking all about the bokeh effect, what it is and how you can create it in your own food photos too. Hey everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel dedicated to all things food photography. And in today's video we are going to be looking at the bokeh effect. We're going to talk a bit about what it is and how you can create it too, and I'm going to have a quick demo to show you exactly what settings you need to use on your camera to create this bokeh effect in your photos. Now the bokeh effect is created when our main subject is perfectly in focus and anything else in front and behind that object is out of focus and is looking a little bit blurry. And this is an intentional creative decision, and it's one that I really like to use in my own photos because it adds a lot of dimension and depth to the image. Your ability to capture the bokeh effect will depend heavily on your lens and something else called aperture. So the aperture refers to the opening in your lens and how much light is being let into the lens through that opening. This aperture range varies from lens to lens. The aperture is represented by an F number on your lens. So when you're buying a lens or looking at your lens, you will notice the F number, which represents the aperture. Let's talk a little bit more about the relationship between the F number and the aperture in a little bit more detail. So as we mentioned before, aperture refers to the gap, the opening in your lens and how much light is being allowed in. So we can either have a very small aperture and a small gap where not that much light is coming in, or we can open the aperture up and have a very big aperture with lots of light being able to come into the lens. And this is the part where it can get a little bit confusing because a small aperture is represented by a high F number on your lens, whereas a big wide aperture is represented by a small number, F number, on your lens. The aperture available on a lens can range anywhere from 1.4 all the way up to 32. So as we mentioned before, you will need to check your lens to see what range you have available to you. The smaller the number, the more pronounced the bokeh effect will be. So for example, my lens on my camera goes down to f1.4 and up to f22, meaning that I can create a range of different depth of field in my images. I found that the best way to really understand aperture properly is by practicing and having a go with your camera. So in this video now, I want to set up a little demo area and show you exactly what settings I'm changing and how that affects my image and how we are creating the bokeh effect with these different F numbers on my lens. So I'm going to go and get set up and then I will show you the photos and we'll talk through the settings and the differences that we can see there. Okay, so we're ready to start the demo. As you can see, I have a very simple setup here. So in the foreground, I've got this fabric with a little knife. We have the main subject of fresh apricots in this bowl here in the middle. And as our background subject, we have some chopping boards with some fresh peaches. So these three layers are going to be really handy for very clearly showing us how the bokeh effect works. So I'm going to take 3 images here with 3 different F numbers. And then afterwards, we're going to compare those images side by side. So the first image we're going to take is with a fairly high F number. So on the left panel, or right panel, sorry, here you can see F16. So for food photography, for me, this is quite a high F number. And if you remember, this means that the opening in the lens is quite small. So not a huge amount of light is coming through. And because not that much light is coming through the lens, it means that we have to shoot with the shutter speed quite slow. So when we take the image, the lens opening is going to stay open for a little bit longer than usual to be able to correctly expose the image. So I'm just going to focus on the apricot and we're going to take this shot at f16. For the second shot, we're going to make the F number a bit smaller. So when we make the F number smaller, we are letting more light come into the lens because the opening in the lens is getting bigger. And as you can see, as we do that, the image gets quite a lot brighter. So to compensate for that and to make the image exposed correctly, we can make the shutter speed a bit faster. So the shutter won't actually be open for all that long and we'll get a nicely correctly exposed image. So I think that looks about right to me. So once again, I'm going to focus on the peach, or the apricot, sorry, and we're going to take the image at f7.1. And for the last image, I'm going to take it right down to let's go down to maybe 1.8. I shoot at 1.8 quite a lot. So once again, the image has become very overexposed because we've got a really, really wide aperture, a very big gap in the lens, which is allowing loads of light to come through. So now I can make the shutter speed, oh gosh, I'm going the wrong way. I can make the shutter speed very, very fast. So it's only going to be open for a short amount of time to let the light in. I think 1:125 looks pretty good. So we're going to take this image, the third one, at f1.8. Okay, so now we can review the images side by side, which makes it really nice and clear how this bokeh effect works and how it's created. So the image here over on the left was the first one that we took, and that was taken at f16. So you can see here that pretty much everything is quite nicely in focus in this image. You can see the peaches quite clearly, we can see the apricots, and we can also see the detail on the knife and the fabric. If we then look at the image in the middle, this one was taken at f7.1, and we can see that the peaches in the back and the foreground here are a little bit less in focus. So we're starting to get this idea of the bokeh effect with a smaller aperture f number. And then we're looking at the last image that we took, and this was taken at f1.8. So this is a really small f number, but a very wide aperture, so lots of light coming in. And we put the focus on this apricot here, and we can see that the apricot is very nicely in focus, but everything else in front and behind it is out of focus. And here we have created the bokeh effect. So in food photography, this effect works really nicely for images that we're taking at an angle to our subject. So this image was taken at about 45 degrees to the apricots, and I like to use the bokeh effect when I'm shooting either straight on or any angle in between straight on and top down, so like the 90-degree flat lay image. And that's because we can create this really nice foreground and background interest and really put the focus and interest, attention on our main subject. So flat lays are usually better shot with a slightly higher f number, where more of the image is going to be in focus, because you usually want to see all the elements fairly evenly in a flat lay. Having said that, there are occasions, for example, in this peach salad, I took an image top down, and my f number is still at 3.5, which is still fairly small, but it's because I wanted to create a kind of blurry and soft effect around the ground underneath my image so that the focus is fully on my main subject, the salad. So it's best to just play around with Aperture, try different settings with different subjects, and think about what mood, what effect you want to create in your overall image, and then try different apertures until you get exactly to the mood that you want to achieve. It's worth remembering that there are no right or wrong answers when it comes to photography, so I really encourage you to just play around, even if it's just with really simple subjects in front of you like we did here today. You can just grab some fruit and place it on a really simple backdrop and just try different settings to see what effect you get and what it is that you like. The more you practice, the more you learn, and the better you will get. So the main takeaway from this video is that in order to create the bokeh effect in your food photography, you need a lens that has a small f number. This will allow you to focus perfectly on your main subject whilst leaving the foreground and the background a little bit more out of focus, creating beautiful depth and dimension to your images. Well, that's all for today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new, and above all, I hope that you now feel that you can go and grab your camera and give it a go for yourself and try making the bokeh effect in your next shoot. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment down below telling me what your takeaway message from this video was. And if you don't want to miss out on any next videos, hit that subscribe button and I will see you in the next video.